Alright, hello and welcome to the video. In this video, we're going to be solving the erasing promises challenge. And here we're going to be seeing one more method that we can use with the promise object, which is the .race method. And as you might guess, the promise.race is a method that allows you to basically wait for the first promise in a series of promises to resolve or reject. So promise.race is basically going to accept a list of promises similar to promise.all or promise.all_settled, and it's going to return the result of the first promise in that list, which resolves or rejects. All right, so here we want to create a new function called racer, and this is going to accept a list of promises. And here we want to have a try catch. And we want to have const result equals, we need to make this an async function, await promise.race, and we want to pass in our array of promises. So promise list, and then we can return the result, or otherwise we can return the error. And so this is going to basically race these promises against each other, and as soon as one of them reaches a fulfilled state, it's going to produce that resolved value here, and then we're going to return it. Or as soon as any promise reaches a rejection state, it's going to go ahead and reject and throw that particular error here. All right, so let's go ahead and run the code, and we'll see that this passes the tests. So this is just yet another method that you have at your disposal to work with promises, and it's a little bit more rare to see the promise.race method used. In fact, it was actually several years before I even learned that this method existed, but it can be pretty helpful in some circumstances where you might need to basically determine if something has occurred or have some kind of polling operation, or it can be useful in a few different cases. And anyways, it's definitely helpful to know that it does exist, and the more kind of like small details like this that you see over time, the more of these kind of tools that you'll have in your toolbox that you may find that you need one day. All right, so that's going to wrap it up for this lesson, and that is also going to wrap it up right now for this section on promises and callbacks. So we've seen quite a bit now about how to work with promises, how to use the promise callback function, and how to handle resolving and rejecting promises. We've seen how to wait for the results of promises using an async function, and we've also seen how to use the .then and .catch methods to handle promise fulfillment. And then finally, we've seen these other methods that we have available to us, like promise.all, promise.all_settled, and promise.race, to work with lists of promises. So we've seen quite a bit about promises, and hopefully this gives you a pretty good foundation in understanding what promises are and how to work with them. And so with that, we're going to go ahead and wrap up this video lesson, and we will see you in the next section where we're going to be diving into basic networking and how to work with the HTTP protocol to send and receive network requests. All right, so that's going to be it, and we will see you in the next section.